Thank you, Chairman Mast, and I also want to thank Ranking Member Mix for holding today's hearing, and thank you to our witnesses for joining us today. As it's been stated, in 20 years, we have opportunity to, work on reauthorizing the State Department. So as my colleague and ranking member on the subcommittee that we both serve on, I agree with him that we need to work together and find a bipartisan reforms that will continue to strengthen our U.S. leadership on the world stage, and also make sure that U.S. is remaining the partner of choice, in the world stage with our allies and partners who depend on our leadership. The State Department over time has struggled to find its purpose, and its most important authorities and functions have been absorbed by other agencies. This is especially true when it comes to the economic statecraft. In 2012, President Obama proposed the consolidation of 6 agencies, including USTR, Commerce, and others, to bring coherence to our economic statecraft portfolio, but that effort failed to materialize. So I want to ask you, Mr. Hale, is bringing USTR back into the Department of State as it was before 1961, is that a good idea? Why or why not?
I definitely believe that there is a need for greater integration and coordination of our international economic policies and resources and agencies. I'm not wedded to any specific proposal on doing that. You would be a better judge of me, of the reality that there are important domestic political factors in play here that that would have to be, weighed. I would certainly believe that I understand why a president wants to have a cabinet-ranked member, of his team dealing with trade, but I've witnessed firsthand where the separation of the agencies has not allowed us to do the best job possible. And USTR in particular suffers, if I may say so. They're very capable people, but it's a very small agency, and the bandwidth is such. I can only imagine how they're dealing with the amount of attention being focused on tariff and trade policies right now. So I would encourage not just thinking about what our embassies can do to better integrate, but how the State Department can incorporate some of these. And third, there's been a lot of tinkering with the National Economic Council and having like a NSC equivalent to deal with national economic and international strategies. I haven't seen it really work the way the NSC works, where it's a really functioning, demand-driven organization where the president's leadership is clearly understood by everyone involved. That could be improved.
Thank you. In 1979, the Foreign Commercial Service and Foreign Agriculture Service were pulled out of the State Department, weakening our ability to advocate for American business overseas. So, Mr. Jeffries, should FCS and FAS be brought back into the department?
Absolutely, Congresswoman. One of the core jobs of any embassy team led by the ambassador is to promote American business, not just big ticket items such as military sales, commercial aircraft, energy projects, although those are always at the top of the agenda, but any kind of American business, American farming initiative in a country not only should, but usually does get the support of the ambassador and his or her team. Thus, they should be under the.
I appreciate that perspective. In 1999, I want to talk about the U.S. AGM. U.S. Information Agency was dissolved and its component parts pushed into the department and created Undersecretary for Public Diplomacy. And so international broadcasting elements like Radio Free Asia, Radio Free Europe, Radio Free Liberty, and Voice of America, they were all merged into Broadcasting Board of Governors, and BBG and its successor organization, the U.S. AGM, that we're talking about today, were notoriously dysfunctional and desperately needed reform. That is a widely accepted as fact. So should these organizations be put under the State Department's umbrella or be reconstituted as federal grantees? Mr. Hale, can you answer that?
Well, in my mind, they're foreign policy tools, so they're best led by the foreign policy agency, the premier agency, which is the State Department. I would also, though, question, in my background in the Middle East, that the big question was the introduction after 9/11 of the Middle East broadcasting enterprise. And I thought it was built on a false premise in that Radio Free Europe, Voice of America was fundamental during the Cold War in filling a vacuum because the Soviet Union wasn't allowing any other news sources to come in. We were able to do that. That's not the problem in the Middle East. There are news sources there. We can get an American official or American voices on any platform we want. It's a question of content. So I wouldn't be spending money on building platforms to try to compete with Al Arabiya or Al Jazeera. I would be thinking about how we can use our talent to make our case on those and other platforms.
So talking about content, very briefly, Chairman, if USAGM is not replaced with some new organization, are we ceding the information space to our adversaries because content-wise, we're not winning the information war?
Oh yeah, definitely. And I experienced this as Undersecretary and talking all around the world with our ambassadors about what they needed. And we had plenty of PD resources in the Middle East and South Asia. We didn't in Europe. And China was eating our lunch, so to speak. And so yes, but content, not necessarily replicating platforms.
Thank you.